For those who don't know now, you know, baby. This is Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Hot Rod Biggs as a special guest, Jared Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know now, you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And today I've got, as always, my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street. What's up, Sheik? How you doing today, buddy?
Not much, brother. Just good to be your tag team partner for life.
For life. Yeah, man. Well, you definitely are that. You know, I got to start off by saying we got an excellent show today. As you read on the welcome mat, today we have the one and only Hot Rod Biggs on the show. If you're not familiar with Hot Rod Biggs, I understand. He's very well known in the Middle Tennessee area where I had my little turn at bat. And he has really had a cool career, wrestled a lot of awesome people, and honestly just has some great stories to tell. So even if you haven't heard his name and you normally listen to us anyway, go ahead and listen just to a little bit of the story, and then I think you'll stick around for the rest of it, because like I said, Hot Rod Biggs is the man. Trust me on that. So, you know, to kind of go back a little bit, we've had some shows in our rearview mirror. You know, we had, of course, Shane Morton, which is now just crossed so many barriers. I don't even know that his numbers can be broken at this point, maybe.
And new reigning champion.
Yeah, we said that about Greg Gagne too, though, so who knows, right? But, you know, and Jeff Daniels is still there too, so they're all kind of still hanging in the top three there very strongly. Gotta appreciate all y'all for that so much. And we can tell that you stuck around and listened to our Mount Rushmore of managers. The funny thing is I had Jared, I said, Jared, let's do a Sheik short, kind of just saying each of our picks, you know, so maybe it'll bring him to the episode to listen. And what I noticed in that we clearly didn't notice during the show, maybe you did, but I didn't, is that you picked 3 Pauls.
I didn't notice it until you mentioned it.
And I picked 3 Jimmys. And I know, I get it. Some people's going to be like, what are you talking about? Jimmy Hart, James J. Dillon, okay, and then Jim Cornette, who also goes by Jimmy to those who know him. I almost wish now that I would have picked Father James Mitchell or somebody like that
would be great.
Instead of Gary
But then
Hart.
You would have to leave Gary Hart off. There's no way you could leave Gary Hart off.
There's 0 chance I could have done that. And, you know, people would have been like, you can't pick yourself, Jimmy. So, you know, but it was just so funny. I was like, you know, 3 Pauls and a Brain and 3 Jimmys and a Gary.
Who's the 4th Paul I could have picked? I don't know.
Oh, man, that's a good one, you know.
I was trying to think that when you mentioned that I couldn't put that off the top of my head. So
Yeah, I can't. If you guys out there in listener land think of another manager named Paul, and I'm sure on the indies there's a Paul somewhere.
Yeah, there's something.
But tell me a real manager with the name Paul, because I think we did a pretty decently thorough job of going through them. And anyway, 3 Pauls and 3 Jimmys later, we had a Mount Rushmore of managers episode that y'all listen.
Oh, Paul Jones.
Oh, dude, Paul Jones.
But I would have never picked him. Though,
I love you, Paul Jones. Yeah, Jared, good job. I love you, Paul Jones, but man, I think I even brought Paul Jones up.
Yeah, I think you did.
See, I told you we covered everybody. Anyway, so yeah, but I couldn't ever. It's like you could never take the Brain off your list.
I mean, you'd have to replace Bobby Heenan with Paul Jones. No offense, that would be crazy talk, though.
Then the YouTube comments would have really blown up.
YouTube comments would have burned us down.
Imagine you taking Brain off, picking Paul Jones, me taking Gary Hart off and picking Jimmy Street. You know, that just It's just not going to be happening.
I saw we had you one comment was like, y'all didn't put Bobby Heenan on there, and you were like, did you listen to the episode?
Yeah, I was like, that was kind of, it was pretty apparent that both of us really wanted to pick Bobby the Brain, but at the same time, to make enough time for everybody, we went ahead and split that up. But anyway, thank y'all again, especially, seems like y'all enjoy those episodes. We do notice one thing, our interviews seem to do a little better through the apps, and our topics seem to do a little bit better through YouTube, which, hey, is awesome. However you are ingesting this show, we thank you immensely. And honestly, I don't know what to say. It's just two brothers from Southwestern Virginia that love to talk about pro wrestling. And, it really kind of blows my mind that y'all do support us like you do, but we do greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, we're going to prove to you that we appreciate it so much by shutting up.
Shutting up and getting to it. So stick around for these messages. We're going to be right back with the one and the only Hot Rod Biggs. Be right back.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Dripping in gold? That's cool. Dripping in Velveeta's supremely creamy golden cheesiness? That's respect. Elevate your drip with Velveeta's range of outrageously delicious dips and dishes. Shells, cheese, melty blocks, and heat and eat queso that go all in on indulgence. Flex on your fam with a creamy, cheesy masterpiece and go all in on what you love with Velveeta. Respect the drip and satisfy your cravings. Bring home the drip with Velveeta.
This episode is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. What do you bring to a holiday party? Simple. A bottle of Casamigos. Because nothing gets the party started like a Casamigos margarita, which isn't just for summer. In fact, it's the perfect pour all year round. Casamigos is the gift that always feels right. Because anything goes with my Casamigos. Please drink responsibly. Imported by Casamigos Spirits Company, White Plains, New York. Casamigos Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And today, y'all, to say that I'm excited for this guest is an understatement. One of my favorite people from the Middle Tennessee scene. And y'all know I love a lot of them out there, but at the same time, Hot Rod Biggs has always held a very special place in my heart. Welcome to the show, Hot Rod Biggs.
You are too kind, brother. You are too kind. Glad to be here. Glad to be here, Jimmy.
Thank you for being here. That's the important part. So, but I told you earlier on, I said, we just kind of take it easy. We treat this kind of like a car trip to a show. I'll be driving, you be shotgun, Jared's in the back, making sure, everything's going good there. But we're just going to take a car trip to whatever show we're about to do and have some fun while we're doing it. Okay. So we're all gassed up and ready to go, and let's ask some questions. So very first question that I always start with goes to my co-host, Jared, Plastic Sheik Street. To start us off, Jared.
So, Hot Rod, this is a question I like to ask every guest. It kind of lets the listeners and lets us know maybe what influenced you or what you've saw in your wrestling career. But you're like Mount Rushmore. You're like top 4 or 5 wrestlers that have impacted you or you like to watch. or whatever, just your top 4 or 5 wrestlers of all time.
Very easy question to answer there for you, brother. Superstar Bill Dundee, Buddy Landale, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Jerry Lawler. Call me a mark. That's 5.
That's the quickest answer, man. I love it.
Record time, man.
I didn't even have any notes on that one. We're good.
That's awesome, man.
Buddy Landale, Bill Dundee. I was 12 years old. I got reeled in. Dutch Mantel. Let me throw number 6 in there. They reeled me in, and I've been there ever since, man. 1983 forward.
I love it. Those are great guys. I mean, that's a Mount Rushmore for wrestling, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So, and I can actually see small elements of all those guys in your ring career too, you know, and that's awesome, man. So, well, let me start off with this then, since, you know, you got that one out of the way in record time. So talk about your younger days. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Right here in Nashville, Tennessee, brother. Born and raised. Grew up at the Nashville Sports Arena, where I was able to main event later in my life. That was my Madison Square Garden, man. I never cared about venturing out. Most guys get into professional wrestling to take it wherever they can take it. I was content once I hit the fairgrounds.
Oh, man, that is the Mecca, right? Come on, that's the place. So, okay, where'd you go to high school? Where were you about your school days?
I graduated from Pearl Cone in 1992. I'm an old man now, and you know, did the music thing, did the wrestling thing, did all kind of extracurricular things, and it led to pro wrestling by the time I was 19. Thanks to a gentleman you know as Kid Sensation or Jason Nation, maybe you probably know Jason Nation. He and I go back to Little League. I wouldn't be here talking to either of you gentlemen right now if it weren't for Jason. Jason, shout out if you hear this. Jason preceded me. He went through Ben Jordan and trained and kind of got the nerves and butterflies out of the way. And I said, well, you know, if Jason can handle it, then I'm going to give it a shot. And I looked Moondog's spot up at the fairgrounds. I had a family tie-in that I was kind of unaware at the onset. And, you know, Moondog didn't speak to me for a few weeks. He worked the gimmick, and he couldn't speak, whatnot, so they came, but I kept coming back. I offered him I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And thank God he didn't refuse it. And 3 or 4 months in a tobacco barn through summer of 1995 and August 4th, 1995, Jason and I rolled down. My very first match was in Smithville, Tennessee. The second match was ironically at Jake's Auction Barn in McMinnville, both with Jason Nation. And the rest is history, man.
Wow, that's awesome. So Jason is a great dude. I got to know him working on down the line, you know, but you talked about it just a quick little bit there. You played some Little League. Did you play football and stuff like that in high school? What were you in high school? You were the rock and roller in high school, right?
Rock and roller, man. Sports were never my thing, man. My daddy was buried on my 7th birthday. I seen my life ending at 28. My whole childhood, it sounds ridiculous at this age to look back and say that, but I figured that 28 was my cutoff, so I poured everything I could into everything that I could along the way. See, sports weren't my thing. I to this day, I don't watch football. I couldn't tell you who does what. And played Little League, and I started playing guitar when I was 12 years old, and up and down. I've actually had to reteach myself how to play these last few months after my neck surgery, hand debacle, and, you know, fingers are paralyzed and things like that. So definitely been a wake-up call, but started with guitar, and it's circling back to that now. It's wrestling and music, man. That rock and wrestling connection reeled me in just like my top 6 did.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's definitely what grabbed us as well. You know, we love that rock and wrestling. I've got such great nostalgia on that. But real quick, so, you know, I'm also a musician. You maybe didn't know that, but I think we talked about that in the past. I picked up the bass and guitar at 12 years old myself, got a bass for Christmas one year, and I was in it to win it from then on. Talk about your band, man. I've heard some of the music. It was very of the era kind of metal. Talk about your first band, or talk about the band that did those demos that we've heard online.
Oh, man, I had no idea those were even available. I was trying to see where you were going. That's news to me. Thrash, man. Thrashing, hard rocking, ass kicking, slamming hoodlums. THRASH. Habitual thrash we evolved to. Definitely influenced by DRI, Metallica, Slayer. I mean, man, I'm liable to play anything from George Jones to Jim Croce to Deicide. I mean, I had my musical taste all over the place. I mean, we just, you know, 10th grade, we decided we're going to give it a shot, see if we can put back then, these kids today, man, I didn't even know what the hell a cassette tape is. But we were going to put a cassette tape out, and we pursued that in 1991. We got a little demo together, sold a few 100 copies to our friends, went out and just played some local venues, skating rings, VFWs, anywhere, high school gyms, anywhere that would let us in to play. It was the Vanilla Ice era, so we were kind of at odds there. But I was introduced to Metallica in the 9th grade. I'd not even heard, I didn't get called up until I didn't get Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Kill 'Em All until And Justice for All came out, so I had some catching up to do. A good friend of mine is no longer with us. His name is Richard Slate. I hope his kids are listening. Turned me on to Metallica. He kind of forced it down my throat. I honestly didn't even like. I couldn't wrap my brain around that offbeat on Master of Puppets Forever.
Right.
Now that's like
right.
Yeah. But I had to force it on myself, and a little peer pressure kind of, I got to do this to fit in. Maybe I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective, but it was not a natural fit with the metal. But man, once it got in the blood, brother, it got in the blood.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the guys that and I'm not knocking Metallica. I'm a huge Metallica fan too. They actually, are somewhat of an influence on my career as well. But at the same time, a lot of the guys that love and just tout how much they love Metallica now were the kind of kids that would have made fun of us for liking Metallica back in the day. Am I right or wrong on that?
You are absolutely correct. You hit that one right on the head, Jimmy. Absolutely. It went from everybody, I guess at that time it was Poison and Warrant and
right.
And I actually caught a Poison show, and now again, hindsight's always 20/20. I don't care who you are, hindsight's always 20/20. But at the time, I know they were using tracks and whatnot, and CC DeVille would come out of his guitar solo, held his guitar over the head and over his head with the drum beat, and was doing the count, and the guitar kicked in. I'm like, what the hell is that? So, you can guess everything. And so when I had the opportunity to dive into metal, I did. But you're right. A little bit of shunning came with that territory. But, hey, man, the very first injury that I had was blew my knee out slam dancing at Operation Rock and Roll show. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Testament.
Wow.
Soul, and so I took a hit from a guy twice my size, probably twice my age, and blew my knee out. One of our club shows a couple of weeks later, about lost my head. Our guitar player, we brought a lead guitarist in. The band you'd asked about, let me circle back because I talk too fast and too much sometimes.
You're good.
Was my buddy Ricky Stewart, my buddy Ronnie Finley. We'd been friends for years, and we put that together. Ronnie had met a guy that we were 16, 17 years old. He met a 28, 30-year-old guy that came in and could just play like nobody's business. And he was into a little, how do I say this? He was into some things that we weren't not only of age to do, but even of age we shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
So he was doing his thing, and he was wigging out a little bit, and he had this big Grim Reaper sword, and he decides he's going to swing it around while he's doing his guitar solo. And here I am on an unlevel stage at a place called Pan Starship. It was a club downtown, a spot that's now part of the Bridgestone Arena's parking lot, actually.
Wow.
Down on a little raggedy, uneven stage, and about broke my neck avoiding getting hit with the sickle because I was in the new phase. I almost got hit with the sickle by the guitar player on the dope, it was a hell of a performance, but he about killed us, and about made me kill myself because I was in that knee brace from my knee injury from the slam dancing at the rock and roll show. It's Operation Rock and Roll, man. It's just one big old circle, brother. One big old circle.
I love it, man. That's awesome because, like I said, I've got such huge ties, and that's what led me to where I eventually met you. Was I was a musician, and then you and I actually met when I was working at the Great Escape out there in West Nashville, and you would come in there and I would see, it's Hot Rod Biggs. I know who Hot Rod Biggs is. I'm going to talk to Hot Rod Biggs. And then Tony Falk, LT Falk, Luke from the Bushwhackers. Then eventually Aaron Camaro came in there and said, hey, you want to come? And I'd done a little work up in Virginia for my mentor, Kenny Steele, and told him about it. And he said, you want to come work at Mike Porter's? And then I, got tired of not getting paid and ended up going to work at TJ's Sawmill. But that's a whole other story we'll get into in a minute. So
you need to sit here and tell me, where all these people can hear us right now, that you were too talented to work for hot dogs for Mike Porter. I just can't believe it.
I did it, brother. I did. I even got a bag of chips. One time he said, Jimmy, go ahead and take you a bag of chips, honey. You worked hard out there tonight. And I'm like, Mike, come on, man. You're killing me. Anyway.
What'd you do? I have to work twice for that? Shit.
Exactly.
All right, Hot Rod, you talked about it a little bit already, but give us like a little look into your start in wrestling and who trained you and all that stuff.
I began, again, we had, going back to the music, Billy, you would know him, Jimmy, as Malenko, a.k.a. Billy Manson.
Oh, yeah.
Name is Billy Stewart. His brother Ricky was one of our original band members in thrash. Me and Billy had decided we were just going to play a little show at a skating rink down here for some friends that were going to come through town, and we kind of I had a very large circle of very loyal friends back then. Still do. I don't mean to sound like I don't, but so much so that we were setting up a little show at the skating rink, just do some cover tunes and whatnot, and we were practicing 7 days a week, and we decided, we kind of drifted away from wrestling. It got a little blasé for a couple of years, and we wound up going back to the fairgrounds. PG-13 were headlining with Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert. It was the year that Eddie had passed away. We were at the fairgrounds when Doug got the news about Eddie, actually, and that was a pretty intense thing. And it was actually, and I was come to think about it, Doug is now somebody I proudly call my friend. I don't know if I ever told Doug that story. Anyway, it was first time for everything, right? So I seen Doug jet out the back door, and it trickled through the crowd where we were just up top having an adult beverage or two, and I was like, that's real. That was like everything else was in question, and I was never one of those guys that I never picked apart the show to try to see what the trick was, or to see what this might be legitimate and this might not be. I just took it for what it was. To me, that would be like going to see, Fast and the Furious and trying to figure out which one's a stunt driver and which one was Dom.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That defeats the purpose to me. If I'm going to see the show, I'm going to see the show. And that was like the first, difference that I seen in the emotion. And Billy Jack Haynes had come in and took Doug's spot on the main event, so everybody knew something serious was going on. I didn't realize I had the tie-in that I did at that time. I believe it was February of '95. We come back, so we were going. Our reward for ourselves for practicing for the show, because that's just was what we were doing in life, was to go to the fairgrounds. And once that break happened, I got word within a week or two that Jason was, mentioned Jason followed him in. He had started training with Ben Jordan. And so I started throwing the idea around. I'd always wanted to, as a kid, I was always told, well, you're too small that you're not tough enough to do this, or, somebody hit you with a chair, you're going to go home crying to mama and whatnot. And so it was always in the back of my mind, but I was a little intimidated. I'm not 6'5" and not the gym rat or the bodybuilder or the muscle guy, whatever. I always liked a good fight now, a good fair fight, always up my alley as far back as I can remember. So there was no fear, but there was some intimidation about it. And once we seen the deal with Doug, and then Jason kind of, laid some breadcrumbs out, Hansel and Gretel style. And we seen Moondog Spot at the gimmick table, man. And I went down and bought a couple of pictures just to open up a conversation with him. He didn't speak to me. He works the gimmick. He couldn't talk for a few weeks. And that just kind of drove me. I was like, that son of a bitch is going to talk to me. Kind of my attitude. And God rest his soul. Moondog Spot actually said to me one time, I obviously didn't register at the time, and I didn't realize I hadn't had got my feet wet yet, so I couldn't understand what he meant. But he actually made the comment that if he died in the ring, that was perfectly fine with him.
Wow.
And sure enough, that's what happened. You know, and I don't know if you probably know this, but Cassidy Rock was among the guys in the ring that night. It was in Memphis. We were in Columbia, Tennessee, and we got a phone call. Cell phones were still kind of new, you know, new to everyone. You know, they just become affordable that everyone was starting to pick up cell phones. And someone had called one of the fans in Columbia at the Grand Slam. A fan there where we were had received a phone call from someone in Memphis, and they were actually saying Moondog Spock. So they weren't exactly, they didn't know who the hell they were talking about.
Right.
It turns out that they were there, and we got the news like almost, you know, fairly real time that Larry Latham, Moondog Spot, that Larry had passed away at the Mid-South Coliseum during a match, kind of sat on the bottom turnbuckle and rolled out. And in hindsight being 2020, he said he was okay with that. And, you know, I hadn't seen Larry for a couple of 3 years at that point. I had the opportunity to do the Memphis Loop. Most of the guys come through here and that's what they do. You know, anybody who watches wrestling or watched wrestling in the territory days knows that all the guys that turned out to be somebody all came through Memphis. They all came through. And, that should have been on my radar. It kind of was. You know, my first match with Larry, with Moondog's blessing, was actually in Memphis. It was not at the Mid-South Coliseum, but it was a show in Memphis. My first weekend out, I did Blytheville, Arkansas. I did Dyersburg, Tennessee, Blytheville, Arkansas, and Memphis on a 3-day loop. And that drive was new to me. I was a local boy right here in Nashville, and I was just thinking, damn, do I want to drive 8 hours there? You know, right? I grew into it, but off the riff, I was just like, damn, there's got to be a better way to do this. And Larry had called up a gentleman by the name of Terry Rice. I don't know if you're aware of Terry, but Terry was a promoter around here. He set up a show at the same skating rink that we were practicing to do the show at. Very, very popular skating rink. Probably, again, the kids today that don't know any better are going to think of skating ring. What kind of backyard wrestling stuff you got going on? But that's what it was.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give you the long answer. I haven't really thought about this in a long time.
I love it.
We rolled through, and Moondog made a call to Terry Rice and told him to book me. And I met Dante, Tommy Heggie. Hudson. I knew Gary Valiant, and Gary was there. I went to high school with Gary Valiant, actually. He's a couple years ahead of me, but I'd known him for some years. He's from the same neighborhood I am. And all these guys were congregating at this show right here in the neighborhood, like a mile from, I could have walked there. And so I was thinking, now I'm looking at, do I want to go a mile down the street, or do I want to make a 4-hour trip and stay in a hotel?
Right.
And so that was that. And that was Halloween night of 1995. So I had a couple matches in August. I didn't have anything up until the Halloween night show. Dante seen something in me to this day. I don't know what it was. And you talk about a cheerleader, man. I see he's going to be an upcoming guest soon. And I look forward to that myself. I mean, you were, and I don't mean to sidetrack you here if you have to edit this out, whatever, but did you know that, he was on the Texas Stadium show and Perry Von Erich beat Ric Flair, and he was,
sir.
Jim Pride, he wrestled as Jim Pride. He was Tommy. Yeah, I mean, what a career this guy had. He's sitting back and used to party with the Freebirds and shit. And I'm thinking, kind of minor. But Tommy seen something in me, man. He brought me down to Lewisburg. Columbia wasn't a thing yet. Actually, Columbia wasn't our thing yet. They had broke off from the promoter at Columbia. They'd been running Lewisburg. I found that out after the fact. So I started out my Southern wrestling career, Southern Tennessee spot that was very good to me, by going to Lewisburg. Almost ruined that right out of the gate. So we're talking Halloween night, October 31st, and 6 or 7 weeks later, on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, same year, here I am a couple of months into the business, And, as far as I know, the future's so bright, I got to wear shades, brother. And there was a bachelor party for the promoter, Willie Paul Davis.
Willie Paul.
Willie Paul. They had a birthday party for Willie Paul at the Gentlemen's Club here in Nashville. I'm trying to be politically correct and verbally respectful. And, a little bit of Crown Royal, etc. later, and a little bit of, hey, I'm being green and stupid, and I didn't know any better. And later that night, here I am demonstrating the hip toss to somebody on a hard floor that I had no business doing, and I separated my shoulder, which to this day, right now, all the way from 1995, I twist my elbow and my collarbone pops out because I never got it screwed back in. And I thought that was going to be the worst thing that could have possibly happened to me. And I started, I'm not a sinless man. None of us are, but I serve a good God. And he used that, used what I thought was my defeat and turned it to a victory. And I'm going to tell you how he done it. Because I was in Lewisburg and I'd been there for just those few weeks, it was enough for Chris Kern, my bruised brother partner, talk about heat magnets. Man, I've never experienced anything. To this day, I still haven't experienced anything in my career as Hot Rod Biggs, so to speak, as I did when I was Hot Rod Biggs, one half of the Bruise Brothers. Me and Chris Kern, and we later factored in Little X Victory, God rest his soul. And, man, we just took the area by storm. Because I was in Lewisburg and because I was in that sling, I knew I couldn't wrestle, but I wanted to show that I was still on the team. I still made the trips for the next few weeks. And shortly after New Year's, maybe beginning of January, February, Chris Kern was working with Jason Nation. I hate to keep going back to him, but he was a very integral part. They were doing a deal in Lewisburg. Jason had just bought a brand new Firebird 1996 model. He was wrestling against Chris Kern. The car was on the line, and Chris needed to make sure that he walked out the winner. So there I am sitting in my sling. Quentin Charisma is managing Chris. He's got his own thing going on during the deal. And Kern looks at me in that sling, and he says, hey, you want to come to the ring with me and hide that spray can in your sling so he could Jason at the end of it? And I was like, hell yeah, brother, count me in. That's what I'm here for. I was just making the trip to show up and support the team. Not the Bruise Brothers team, hey, we're in Lewisburg team. There wasn't no Bruise Brothers. And something just clicked, man. Something, you would have to ask Chris Kern what it was, but he seen something. I was just very fortunate, in right place, right time, and he went to Tommy, who was the booker, and asked him if we could do a little thing. He brings the idea to me the next week about the Bruise Brothers. Again, me not being smart to my environment, I almost rejected the Bruise Brothers because as soon as he said, okay, we're going to, put on the bow ties and the shirts and the slacks, and I'm thinking, oh, God, that's the big boss man type shit. I don't want to do that. And I tried to talk him out of it. He wasn't having it. And thank God he didn't listen to me. But he insisted. And, man, 3 or 4 weeks later, man, we were rolling. And it wasn't long before we were bumped up to the main event, not because we were excellent workers, not because of politics, not because of any reason other than it was very evident that the people were buying tickets to see our opponents, whomever they were at the time, beat up the Bruise Brothers or get beat up trying. And that was a full education in a very short period of time on the ins and outs of professional wrestling. And only then did I start to smarten up and look at the business for what it was. I never considered it a business. I didn't consider it a money venture. I didn't consider it a stepping stone. It was, this is what I'm doing. This is what's in front of me tonight, and I'm going to take care of this. And I didn't look beyond that. And it could have been detrimental, but thankfully I was surrounded by some good people, and I rode Chris Kern's coattails, and man, the rest is just history. To this day, if I were to go to a show in that area, somebody or somebody's kid, somebody's going to come up and say something to me about the Bruise Brothers. Their grandma watched me. Their mama watched me. Their daddy watched me. They watched me when they were little. I could, not that I wanted to escape it, but I couldn't if I wanted to. We were, for the small audience that we had, 300 or 400 people, we were, which isn't small, especially nowadays, but 300 or 400 people, packed into a National Guard Army in Lewisburg, Tennessee, and they just couldn't get enough. I mean, we did the sugar bottle deal with Shane Morton, man, and we went out there and I was drinking the shoot Coke, right? You know, the legitimate Coke bottle, and I dropped one of them. And so I had Quentin bring me another one, so they knew we had more than one. You know, I purposely dropped it so they hear it, you know, see it, and man, we blasted Shane Morton with that damn thing later. Shane and Steve were just a couple of months ahead of me. We all kind of come in at the same time, and so they were the up and coming babyface tag team. Chris and I were the up and coming heel tag team. And we blasted him with that Coke bottle, man. And Susan, if you hear this, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Man, she was about to eat through the bricks, man, to try to get to us for cutting Shane up. And it was, it was magic, brother. It was magic. You know, there's Mikey Dunn, all those guys were still in the audience. And no disrespect, they were still in, because I was in the audience before I wasn't either. We all were, right?
Sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
Here. So I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but this was a while back. None of those guys had broken in, and I mean, you could ask any of those guys, man. The heat that we had, and everybody, you know, gets yelled at or, you know, starts a riot or something and thinks they got the most heat in the world. We didn't have the most heat in the world, but we had the most heat in the circuit, and it was because of the position we were put in. And Chris Carter was just that damn good, and I was smart enough to follow him.
Yeah,
so that's all. That's the question. You're gonna have to edit out about 45 minutes of that, probably.
That's awesome. So, you know, in 98, I'm looking here at your list of stuff. And then, so Music City, you actually work an NWA North American title versus Colorado Kid at the fairgrounds. And then also at around that same time, you're also working a very young James Storm. Talk about some of those times, man. I'd love to hear. I mean, first of all, you're getting to work the fairgrounds there. And then second of all, you're working a very early version of someone that would end up doing some big things. Talk about these times here.
Well, all right, so let me, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take them opposite. You gave them to me though. James Storm was the first person I was ever assigned to, so to speak. James trained with, if I'm not mistaken, he trained with the Mortons to kind of get his feet wet, and he come into Columbia. Eventually led to McMill. Back then we had a pretty good. This was before your time. We had a pretty good schedule, man. We were doing Wednesday nights. We were doing Tennessee City, which is outside of Dixon, Tennessee. We were doing Tennessee City on Wednesday nights. We were doing Shelbyville on Thursdays. We were doing McMinnville on Fridays. We were doing Lewisburg, which rotated to Lewisburg, Petersburg, and Columbia on Saturday. So we hit each one, every third week. And then Sunday, every other Sunday was Paducah, Kentucky. We had the occasional spot show on a Monday. Tuesdays were off. And so I hit the ground running with 5 to 6 work days, a week. And that obviously expanded on my knowledge. And it wasn't long after, here comes James Storm. And I need to send you a picture, whether you put it on your site, whatever, just so you can see the kid that I was working with compared to the James Storm that the world now knows. Night and day difference. What a great attitude the kid had. Now, I hear, and I'm going to say I hear because I never experienced it, I hear James grew into a little bit of a problem that if he didn't like the way things were rolling, he would buck up and do this. I can say with certainty, he never once done that to me. James and I become very good friends after the fact. And let me reiterate this. This was a time when we were not in the same dressing rooms. I've been wrestling 4 or 5 years before, unless I just happened to catch a ride with one of the guys up or we did something like that. We didn't talk to our opponents. The referee took the gimmick for the end over, and I don't like using the F word, for kids.
Sure.
But
sure, of course.
The referee would bring the gimmick over. I'm still got a little old school in me. And if the referee, hopefully he was smart enough to communicate it well, and sometimes that led to a fight in the ring. We've been in a couple of shoots in the ring, unfortunately, too. Not that I started any, but it's kind of been the end results along the way. Sometimes it was a miscommunication, or the babyface meant this, and we took it as this, and it just come down. But we were not in the same dressing room. So James and I became friends after we went out there and put our lives in each other's hands for week in and week out for months at a time. And James and I made a lot of wound up making a lot of road trips together. You know, I got to kick it with Mickey James at Storm's wedding. I don't even know where I could start or stop with Storm outside of that. But what a sponge for the professional wrestling industry he was. He wanted to learn it all. He had a good attitude. He didn't mind doing anything, whether I was burning him with fire, whether I was suplexing him off the top rope. I taught him to do a Frankensteiner by taking it from him. Which was a new bump for me too. But it was the thing. He and I eventually went into McMinnville. If you're doing your homework, and I know you have, you seen we did some Ronald McDonald House benefits in conjunction with a high school down in McMinnville, Tennessee. A few years in a row, we raised, upwards of $30,000 over 3 years for the Ronald McDonald House because of some shows. We would go in and do a morning show at the school where the kids would pay $2 to get out of class and into the deal. And then we, as crazy as this sounds, they literally tore and I got pictures to prove it. This ain't me making stuff up. Where they took the section out, like the men's clothes, out of the Walmart section because Walmart was sponsored, and we would come in and do a show in the Walmart, literally inside in the men's section. The Walmart, they had the room set up, and they asked, and me and Storm would headline that stuff, and then we would come back and do a regular ticket price for the show that night. I mean, what a baby face. Yeah, and I hope he hears this, and if you don't, then I hope the world hears it and tells him about it. What an excellent baby face that kid was right out of the gate. And, everything that he got from my perspective, his attitude that I never experienced aside, because I never seen that. But where I'm sitting, James Storm worked hard for everything that he got, and he deserves all the good that happens to him. And I would take a bullet for that kid. I would lay down in traffic for him right now. I hadn't seen him in several years. But I would lay down in traffic for him right now because of what he did for me way back then, and because I seen the same love that I had for professional wrestling come out with James Storm. Me, Cat Taylor, and Storm tore the circuit up for quite some time.
And now a word from our sponsor.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why the new MyBiz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with MyBiz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers end September 30th, 2025.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love. Now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
Which leads me to your second person you asked me about. So I had been the Southern Heavyweight Champion for an extended period of time, a little over 18 months consecutive, which what an honor that was. You know, where would I begin?
Oh, yeah.
But to get guys like Tracy Smothers and Jamie Dundee and Stephen Dunn and Paul Diamond and these guys that I everybody with the exception of Paul Diamond, I become friends with after the fact. But at the time, not being in the same dressing room, I didn't get to talk to him before nor after the match. You know, it was hey, tell him I said thank you and vice versa. And for these guys to come in, they didn't know who I was. I hadn't been on TV at that point, and they come in and did the favor. And you know, for who the hell is Hot Rod Biggs? But sure, I'll put him over. And those guys came and done it, and that led to the tie-in, Steve Bryant and Randall Fanning, Steve Bryant was the photographer of the area. Randall Fanning was the videographer, however the hell you say that, videographer. He recorded the shows and made sure the boys had their gimmicks, which I was a student of that. I would work, I was a Marks, right? So I would work for free if that's what I had to do. I rarely had to do that, but I would have worked for free just to be able to record my match, because as soon as we got home, it was put in the tape and let's see what went right. And let's watch it again. Let's see what went wrong. And then let's watch it a third time and let's see what we maybe should have done so we can try it next time. And became a student of the game. Randall and Steve took over McMinnville, Tennessee. Burt Prentice came to town shortly thereafter, which led to the MCW, the Music City Wrestling, at the fairgrounds, which opened the door for me to wrestle at the fairgrounds for the first time. I had dropped the title after 18, I think it was like 18 months and 2 weeks. You know, they say wins and losses don't matter. I never kept up with that, but I kept up with that time because it was the first title that I had held in a singles manner. The Bruise Brothers held, I hate to back up, but Chris and I had the tag team titles, and I mentioned that we worked in 6 towns. Chris worked in 5 of those because Chris didn't do Paducah, Kentucky because of the shoot job. Okay. 5 towns, different promoter in each town. A lot of the same crew, but not the same promoter. Nobody was, you know, the Columbia promoter wasn't making money off of Shelbyville, and the Shelbyville guy wasn't making money off Tennessee City. They were independent shows for their own right. And all 5 towns had put their tag team titles on us. Non-cooperating had given us titles. So I'd held tag team titles up to that point, but not a singles title. So after 18 months, whatever, I put Storm over for that title. It was time, and he deserved it, and you know, it was just time. And just as luck would have it, again, I thought I'd done something detrimental. 2 weeks later, we're told, hey guys, you know, we're gonna send y'all to the fairgrounds on Saturday night. You know, and I'm thinking the fairgrounds, and what city? Nashville never crossed my mind. They're like, no, you're going to the sports arena in Nashville, and I mean, it was like, how do I equate that without being a sports fan? I guess it would be like going to the Super Bowl. I imagine. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't do but what a great piece of news that was. So here I am now. I'm going to the fairgrounds, but I just gave up my title, and I'm thinking, damn, I just may have missed a run here. But I didn't, because they put me in there with Colorado Kid right out of the gate, and we had a very smooth match. So much so that Mike Rapata, Colorado Kid, that Mike told somebody about it. I know he told Burt, but apparently he told somebody else about it, because he started showing up at the Fayetteville show, and he came to Shelbyville, and he wanted to be in the ring with me, whether it's because I was safe, whether it's because I was light, whatever the reason, whether it's because I didn't mind putting him over. I don't know. I didn't ask those questions. But for whatever reason, he wanted to work with me. We went out there and done it a couple times, and I don't want to be disrespectful. Let me choose my words carefully. I never fell in the favorites list of Mr. Burt Prentice, and that has its own connotations. I guess either you know, or you don't know. If you don't know, you're not going to know today. But I was not amongst that group. And
it's a good thing, right? I mean, come on.
It's an excellent thing. Are you kidding me? But I will say this: I never judged those who were, and I was, as time went on, all the way through the inauguration of TNA, and which I'm sure you probably didn't see this online, but I am one of the only local talents that opted out of an opportunity with TNA, and there I got a whole set of reasons for that. But I was invited to. Yeah, I was out there with the rest of them, some bitches, painting the walls for the fairgrounds.
All black. Yeah.
All black. Yes, sir. It went from white to blue to black. Certainly was. Whenever we bring it, I was there. I mean, sidebar, but I was standing there talking to Jim Cornette when it's now a famous story, but I was standing there talking to Jim Cornette as Ed Ferrara and Vince Russo walked into the fairgrounds that night, and Jim Cornette goes off on him about the JR skit, the Oklahoma deal, and you can Google that in the stories everywhere. I was standing here talking to Jim Cornette when he stopped talking and turned around to beat Ed Ferrara. He was going to try to. He didn't, but wasn't because they didn't stop him.
Yeah,
he certainly did. He called it, and I'm going to tell you what, everything that I've heard Cornette say about that was almost verbatim.
Wow.
But so, that was all the TNA inauguration. Anyway, I say that because I was one of the only guys around here, and I'm not special. I'm not over talented. It was just the way it was. All these guys were clamoring to get in the door for TNA, and I opted out. And that goes back to my deal with Colorado Kid that, Colorado kind of weeded himself out of that. But I was the only local guy, I've said this 9 times, I'm going to finish my sentence. The only local guy that was not in that circle, because I don't know what else to call it. You know what I mean? I wasn't on the favorites list, but I stayed booked. I didn't get kicked. All the other guys got left off the card, or they got timed out or jobbed out or whatever, and they kept me in the mix. I chose not to do the Wednesday night shows because there was a whole list of extracurricular expectations that I wasn't participating in. And some of those guys, and guys, if you're listening to, I am not going to name names, and I don't mean any disrespect to you. But I was just raised a different way, perhaps. I don't know. But I was very fortunate. That I stayed in the mix all the way till it just wasn't a thing anymore. Finally, one Saturday night, they said, "Hey, this is the last one," and I was there from the beginning to the end. And it goes back to my very first night with Colorado Kid, and none of that would have happened if not for me dropping the belt to James Storm, which I thought was a mistake. I know I give long-winded answers. I thought it was a mistake, and it turned out just like the separated shoulder, just like the pursuing spot, all the things. I thought I'd done something wrong, and it turned out to be a break that I couldn't have seen coming if it had bright lights on it.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it leads you to the USWO eventually.
Talk to us about your time tagging with the former guest of the show, Hammerjack, against the Extreme Clown Posse.
Old buddy Kroll and Malenko. Talk about that time.
Oh, good guy. Let me preface all of that by saying this. Very few of us would be a name in this area, independent or not, if not for Kroll.
Absolutely.
And most people like him. Some people don't. If I had to pick one person, if everybody was going to drown and we could save one guy, Kroll would get my life raft. I promise you that.
I got to say this real quick. Kroll gave me a chance. I was kind of halfway hiding behind a gimmick of the Sheik, Omar Al-Kazan, and Kroll gave me a chance that I had almost lost my focus on it. He said, "Why don't you come back and do a little something?" And I did, and I got to give him credit. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I always wanted to say that. So Kroll definitely gave me a shot when a lot of people wouldn't do it. Thank you, Kroll. Hot Rod, I'm sorry to cut you off there, brother.
No apologies necessary, baby. We're just riding down the road talking. I mean, what a phenomenal guy. I mean, there's so much from belts to I mean, everything. Kroll is just I don't want to write a love letter to him or nothing, although I would, because I love him, man. I was like, talk about taking a bullet and laying down in traffic for somebody. He'd be at the top of my list. So Kroll puts this thing together. He and Tony Falk go back, Eron Hatchett, Noray's, he's down by both. Them guys were the foundation, and Tony Falk was always kind of the front guy for the USWO, but the driving force behind all of it before the sawmill, before there was a sawmill, there was Excalibur Gym on Friday night and the USWO, and what a phenomenal time that was. if I could go back to 1 year in my entire life and just stay there, it would be from 97 to 99 during that USWO period. It was something else, man. Guys like, Ricochet and Chuck Taylor, and Ricochet, I like Ricochet on a personal level. I don't watch wrestling anymore. I know, I didn't even know he was an Intercontinental Champion until I seen his doll in Tullahoma, Yukon Jack show. And I said, that name looks familiar. And it turns out it was Ricochet. Shows you how far I am away from wrestling now. But I didn't like Chuck Taylor then, and I don't like Chuck Taylor now. He's a punk, and I'll smack him today like I smacked him all them years ago, given the opportunity. But that's a whole nother story. But who's who of independent wrestling came through the USWO. What was the kid's name? P.D. Wright, a kid named P.D. Wright. Lindsay Lohan's first scandal when her nude pictures come out was with one of LT's buddies, P.D. Wright. This kid took a modeling job. He was a waiter at a restaurant here in Nashville and got invited out to L.A. because of some people that seen him at the show and then went to dinner at the restaurant where he worked afterwards. And, 6 months later, this kid, last time I seen this kid, he had taken a King Kong Bundy doll or something and painted "It Must Suck to Be You" on him. And this kid's telling me how he's got a homemade Hot Rod Biggs doll by his door so he can tell it by when he goes to work. And 6-7 weeks, however, a little bit after that, however long it was, this kid's, on all the news outlets laid up nude with Lindsay Lohan of all people. I mean, so some really interesting personalities came through the USWO. And, specifically though, so that, again, I sidetracked myself. Nobody has to do it for me. Hammerjack's another guy that our friendship, our interactions with each other predate professional wrestling for either of us. So he and I had a history that very few people know about outside of our circle. Hammerjack, his wife, I don't know, you know Hammerjack's wife?
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to
sure do. No, absolutely.
Give her whole privacy. I still remember her, Hammerjack. Don't come look me up for this. I still remember her when she was just the pretty blonde girl that come down from up north with her brother. She wasn't Hammerjack's wife yet, so we go back a long way. And what a phenomenal person they both are. But I love Hammerjack, man. And one of the few people that just got it. To have two left feet, Hammerjack, it's true. To have two left feet the way he does, what a worker he became. We didn't know if he was going. We didn't know if he was going to make it coming out the gate. And I'm sure everybody said the same thing about me and all the rest of us. But what a long way he came. But we had some good times, man. Hammerjack and I, we had some good matches against they came in as Disturbing Behavior with Jeff Daniels and Tim Ernesto. Man, I can't say enough about Tim Ernesto either. We'd have to do a 10-part series for that one. 20 part as much as I talk, right? But and then, you go back to Malenko. I told you about my history there. Malenko had met Kroll in their neighborhood, and I heard, hey, man, this guy at the store's got a legitimate Winged Eagle. It wasn't even known as Winged Eagle belt like it is now, but it was just the WWF heavyweight title. And Kroll had this, $1,000 belt, whatever, back, 1995, and he was taking it to his place of business and showing it to the customers come in, and he and Malenko crossed paths then. And, man, the rest is history. You just listed a match with me and three of my best friends in life. In the looking at it from the long view, probably three of the best friends of my life, and Hammerjack, Kroll, and Malenko. I mean, what great guys. What an honor it was for me to be in there and to be led through by some, to lead others through on the other thing, and to just go out there and make the people dance, man. That's what's wrong with wrestling today. It's why I can't watch it. It's about spots. It's about flips. It's about dangerous moves. It's about breaking your leg in half so it looks like a rubber band. There's no way in hell anybody would grab a hold of me and do something like that. It just wouldn't happen. But the difference is you see these people, they're working so hard trying to remember what's next that they don't know. And I can say I was in the ring for 27 years, brother. 27 years that I laced my boots. And while I may have the last 2 minutes of the match, I never did I even try, and damn if I would. There's no way I would let somebody come and say, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to try this, and what about this? And they'd get beat up before we went to the ring, especially if we were in the same dressing room. If we wasn't, I'd have to make a trip around the building because it just wouldn't happen. And that's what I feel is wrong with wrestling is, I referenced going to a movie earlier. Yeah, that movie's written, but they have the luxury of multiple takes if something goes wrong.
Sure.
We do not. We're kind of our own stuntmen. We're our own director. We're our own producer. We didn't have an agent coming back there telling us to do this spot, and this spot, and this spot, and this spot. When I heard through the internet, once the internet became a thing, because obviously I predate the internet, it was crazy to me to try to wrap my head around that, almost like the Metallica thing. How do you wrap your head around an agent telling you what to go out there, what spots to do, whether he was a worker or not? I just can't imagine that. I never experienced that. Tommy had faith in us to say, okay, you just go out there and do a thing, and you slip him over somehow, and that was what we done. He gave us the method. But he never said, we'll give him a pile driver, and then you suplex him and duck a clothesline. We didn't hear all that. People can, I try not to use the word fake. I don't use the word finish. I try not to use the word fake because when I was in the ring, it was only as fake as my opponent's aim. It was only as fake as my aim. Right. Did I get people? Sure I did. Did I do it on purpose? Very, very, very seldom. A small handful of times that I had to lay something in because it needed to be laid in. Only a handful of times was I, had my eye swollen up or whatnot. And a couple of times I did, I deserved it, and I learned something from it, and I thanked that person for swelling my eye up, etc. Because that's what I needed in that moment, and I learned something from it. Well, now these kids just get beat black and blue and risk breaking their neck and don't even know what they're doing it for other than the next flip. And that's crazy to me. Tell me how they pull a match back together when the tackle drop down spot goes awry and the people don't react to it. So you're going to tell me we're talking at 6:15 in the afternoon and the match is going to go on at 8:47 and you're going to tell me how the people are going to respond 2.5 hours in advance? Exactly. No, you're not. That shit don't work. And if you are right on the first one, the second one, the third one, what do you do when they don't respond to the fourth one? So I never knew what I was going to do next until I done it. I didn't know when I was going to, call for a keep alive or when I was going to, let them shine or maybe we're going to start with heat. Who knows? It just depends on how they respond. If my spiel goes good and my telling people to shut up and sure go, Rod, go, if they're responding to that, then let's go. But if they're not, then it's time to change pace and you have to do it on the fly and you have to know how to do it on the fly. And that's the magic that is pro wrestling. That's what I alluded to earlier when I said I never watched it to dissect it to see, how do they do this and how do they do that? They just went out there and done it. Right. And I was fortunate to have that perspective in that I learned by osmosis, by however I learned it. I don't even know how I learned it, but I learned to do it in the moment. That's where the magic happens, and then later when I got to wrestle Bill Dundee and I got to wrestle Jerry Lawler and I got to wrestle Dutch Mantell and Stan Lane and all these guys later down the road, they appreciated the fact that I didn't need to come have a 45-minute conversation with them beforehand to not go out there and screw something up. And
exactly.
The all-new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid doesn't just turn heads. It commands respect. With its stunning exterior, luxurious interior with available captain seats, and spacious third-row seating and equipped with advanced technology, you and the family are making a statement before you even step out. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more and experience the all-new 2026 Palisade Hybrid today.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Hey, my name is Tammy Reynolds. I am the wife of Forsaken Rick Reynolds, that super cool guy that everybody knows and loves. And I represent West Side Sauces. I make sauces, I bottle them, I seal them, I sell them. I have a hot honey sauce, I have a sweet sauce, I have a hot sauce, I have a white sauce that's so yummy you can use it on everything. They are absolutely amazing and I'm so proud of them. We make them from scratch. So go on our website, westsidesauces.com, check out our products, read about our story, and go online and order you some of these yummy sauces. And Rick actually uses all of the sauces because he is a die-hard smoker and griller, and so he likes really good sauces and rubs, and I make them, so how convenient is that for him? Go on our website, westsidesauces.com, order you some samples, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy them. Thank you guys. Be blessed.
We did have a special request on this episode. One of the good friends of the show, Brian Turner, Booty Call, Brian Turner, Brian Hardiston, Brian Turner's VHS Rehab, who's resurrected a lot of the careers of the Middle Tennessee area. And his channel, we love his channel. It's a big part of all my podcasts. He's helped us out. We've helped him out. It's a great relationship with him. He made sure, and I was already going to ask it, but he made sure to get a part where he said, you've got to ask him, especially about the dog collar match with Bart Sawyer, but just your time with Bart Sawyer. What a character, man. What original character, you know.
What a real person that brought his personality into the ring. How about that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Built like a fire plug and twice as tough. Bart Sawyer, oh my God. That that one took me aback. First, let me start by saying, Brian Turner, I love you, man. You have restored my memories. I lost a story shed many years ago over a silly battle of pride, so to speak. I let a story shed go not knowing that I mentioned earlier, and I keep alluding back, I would have worked for free to get my matches on tape so I could go home and do my homework and see what I'd done right and wrong. And so I missed from 1995 till 2003, 2004, there was one, maybe two matches that I did not have on 8mm tape. And every one of those were in storage. I had a few survived because I transferred them to VHS and stored them. So I didn't lose every match I ever had, but I lost 70, 80% of them. And because of Brian and his passion and his dedication and his respect for me, whatever makes him put the hot rod big stuff out there, I can't thank him enough. I've told him personally. Now I'm telling the world publicly, Brian, thank you. You have restored my faith in you've restored my faith. You restored my memories. Thank you for what you do. You're a great friend of the show, a great friend to have on your list anyway. I love me some Brian Turner. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. If you have not checked it out, fans, check it out. You're going to see some real stuff. I'll leave it at that. You're going to see some real stuff on the channel. So, Bart Sawyer, man, what a wildcat he was. So he and I were both vertically challenged, so we matched up as a good pair in there. I was probably in the worst physical condition of my life. When I was upwards of, I got up to 320, 330 pounds during that era. I've typically been around 220, 230 the most of the rest of my career. some medications had been given to me, and I just kind of threw caution to the wind, some injuries and whatnot. And man, that put the weight on me, and the fast food and the coffee and everything else I was pouring down my throat certainly did not help matters. But I was in the worst physical condition that I could have. And if you watch any of those tapes, you'll see that I'm, well over 100 pounds over my normal weight. And, it almost killed me to try to keep up with this fire plug. It was like he was like a pack of firecrackers with 3 fuses, man. I've never been in the ring with somebody like that. I mean, he and I'm sure you know, and hopefully the fans know, Bart Sawyer was a protege of Roddy Piper. Right. Bart started in the Portland area. I'm not sure what part of his story brought him to Nashville, but I didn't recognize Bart. I was not familiar with Bart Sawyer. Many of the boys around me were. They were glad to see him. They were, some of them, for lack of a better term, were marking out, like Hulk Hogan had walked into the promotion.
Sure.
And a few weeks down the road, I found out why they reacted like that. What an excellent worker he was. What a stiff son of a bitch. I had not taken beatings like I took from Bart Sawyer ever up to that point. And it wasn't even, it wasn't like him being facetious or being, unprofessional. That's just the way he worked. And I mean, if he gave you 4 punches, you felt 6 of them, I promise. I didn't get those numbers transposed. I'll admit that. He threw 4 punches, you felt 6 of them. It was that bad. So the dog collar match, he wants to do here I am, I'm Hot Rod Biggs, and he's Roddy Piper's protege. Hey, how about we, let's do the angles, man. Let's, what do you say, Hot Rod? Hey, brother, whatever you want to do. One of the dumbest things I ever said. So leading up to the dog collar match, we started off, I'll get through this as quickly as possible. We did the coconut deal, the Jimmy stuck at the coconut deal. So here I am. I'm a West Nashville boy. What the hell am I going to do with a coconut? I'll get a coconut. It's a topping at Baskin Robbins, right? I go to the store and buy the coconut. Well, I never felt how hard a coconut was in my life. Jesus Christ, was that a mistake? So I buy these coconuts. I playing with the first one and trying to figure out how hard it's got to be hit to, let the milk come on, to emulate what I'd seen on television so many years earlier. How did they do it? How did he make that coconut explode on Snooker's head? Because I knew it was going to be my turn to, do that. And, so I finally figured out, as best I could, thought I did anyhow. And, man, I had 3 coconuts. I left 2 in my bag in the back, 1 gimmick, 1 not, and took 1 to the ring. And there's Athena. We're getting to the dog collar, I swear. Athena and I are at the fairgrounds. I've had a pretty good run because of my position I mentioned earlier with Burt Prentice. He always kept me in the running. If I wasn't main event or semi-main event, I was the match right before it, which the first match is just as important, if not more important, than the last match. And your position doesn't mean anything except it means something in the fans' eyes, So they see me as a bigger star than I would have otherwise been seen, if not for my position on that card. And so I'm, I've got a load to carry. I got a job to do, and I already know that this fire plug's coming in, and he's throwing live rounds, and there's no way around that. And now he's going to throw a live round with a coconut, and I know that's coming. So I got this gimmick coconut. Well, as my luck would have it, that coconut gets kicked off of the damn ring, and it breaks. It hits pretty hard. It actually worked out from the fans' perspective. It actually worked out pretty good because they seen it. And it didn't break as soon as it hit the ground. It took a pretty severe fall for it to break. So what do we do now? That's the go home deal, right? So I make my way. We fight back, and we go get one of the other coconuts. Well, as luck would have it again, I pick up the one that's still in the plastic, and I didn't have time to sort through and get it when we're, filming, and that footage is out there somewhere. I've seen it. I know it's there. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's there. I hope it surfaces. It comes time to do the deal, and and so I know he just took the plastic off this coconut, that it just took a 10-foot fall in the concrete off the top of the ring post to crack the one that had been gimmicked. And this one's coming straight out the plastic. And so I know it's going to be a tough night. And so I try to halfway bump at mid-swing, kind of brace myself as best I can to be whacked in the head with a coconut, which, let me add, right this moment as we speak, I have 2 fingers on the knot that is permanently in my skull from the coconut. I have a permanent knot. I swear to God. Next time you see me, pat me on the head. You'll feel it. I have a knot to this face of the coconut. He swings the coconut. Well, he gets me good. But he don't get me good enough for Bart Sawyer, because this is Bart Sawyer. That son of a bitch grabs me he has me in the hot rod shirt right out the gate. Over my must suck to be you deal, I got the hot rod shirt, which I always wanted a hot rod shirt, because I went to WrestleMania 1 closed circuit at the Municipal Auditorium, March 31st, 1985. I'll never forget that date. I'll remember it beyond my birthday. March 31st, 1985, they were sold out of Roddy Piper shirts. When we got there, I never had a Roddy Piper shirt, never had the opportunity to buy one, and then I get one. But man, what a price I had to pay for it. And he grabs me by that shirt. I try to bump, and he catches me on my way down. I'm kind of in the turnbuckles. He I don't know if he done it on purpose or he thought I don't know. I didn't get to ask him because I was knocked out. So he grabs me by the shirt, pulls me back up, and waylays me a second time. And I just knew I was busted open because I felt all this stuff running down my face. Well, after I was woken up, 45 seconds later, it was the coconut milk. He legitimately smashed that damn coconut, which ironically worked out because hey, we're going to do the deal like they done. And by God, Bart Sawyer made sure it happened. He knocked me out cold with that coconut. So now that I got that long story out of the way, now we're coming for the dog collar match. Well, we did a sleeper thing, and I bloodied him up. Good footage. That's on Brian's channel, actually. Christmas night, we did the deal. Then we did the dog collar match. The dog collar match was the night of Jerry Lawler and David Flair. And yes, I got fired before the main event come along. I didn't even get to see the match. So because of this dog collar match, oh my God. So here we are, the biggest house I'd ever seen. Well, I ain't gonna say ever seen. It's the biggest house I'd seen since the late 80s when the Fabulous Ones and the Sheep Herders sold out the fairgrounds. The television show that morning, David Flair, and you talk about a kid who needs to learn a wrist lock from a wristwatch. Jesus Christ, he's Ric Flair's son and he can't wrestle. What the hell is that? Hold up, story. But, so David's in town. We do a Friday night show, and I get to work with David. Found out he can't work. I didn't get to see him work with Lawler because I got fired, which I'm getting to. And so me and Bart are out there. The television show that Saturday morning, Athena and I had a spot. I haven't seen it in years. Brian, if you hear this, find me that interview. I'd love to see it. And not only my interview, but I'd love to see what a mark moment it was for Hot Rod Biggs, because I got to watch my interview with Athena, which was awesome in its own right, because here I am with the pretty lady on the big TV show going into the big card at the big arena. It was Super Bowl time again. And to top the icing on the cake is that the interview fades out. I'm going to be a mark here. The interview fades out from Athena and Hot Rod Biggs, and up comes Ric Flair talking about he just might have to pay Jerry Lawler a visit to protect his son at the Nashville Fairgrounds. And that was followed by Jerry Lawler's interview with Ric Flair on the gimmick. And I mean, what a moment that was. So, I mean, to say that I was a little bit nervous, to say I was excited, to say I was worried about getting the hell beat out of me because we have a legitimate, 20-pound dog collar that's fixing to be strapped to us. And I know what he done trying to emulate the Jimmy Snuka deal. Is he going to try and rip my ear off like Greg Valentine did? You never know with Bart Sawyer. So there was a lot of nerves going into that. And I will say this, every single movement we made, I don't give a damn if I was trying to powder and if I was shooting him into the ropes. That chain, I don't know if it was longer than the other one. I didn't look at the logistics, but every time we made a movement, he or I moved, that chain was like a whip, and it was going bam, and it was doing a wave and smacking you in the face and getting you in the eye, hitting you in the nuts and popping you in the knee, and that chain beat me to death. I had just been put on pain medication for a very serious back injury. I shouldn't have even been in the ring. I was so beat up the next day. I was so beat up that my medication was at the bottom of the stairs. I didn't even get up to go get the pain pills. I was in so much pain. It was bad. It was that's the worst I'd ever, to not be injured, to just be just be sore from a match. Nothing compares to that dog collar match. The most sadistic, most brutal match I was ever in, and what I call a career, was that dog collar match. So the reason I was fired, and the reason that it is now the story it is amongst those who were there, is that Bart Sawyer says, throw the sign at me. I started carrying the stop sign before ECW featured it, before Tommy Dreamer, grabbed the Marks fan with the sign and ripped it off on the TV, and now everybody carries a stop sign. Somebody brought me a stop sign, and what the Bruise Brothers had the Jim Cornette deal. We had the tennis racket. That was something that Chris Kern had with the former tag team. I didn't like the idea of it, just like I didn't like the idea of the suit that mimicked the Big Boss Man. But man, was I wrong again, because that tennis racket sounded like a shotgun, and we got a lot of heat off of it. On an equal playing field, that stop sign, it was flat, it was smooth. The harder you threw it, the louder it was, and the harder you threw it, the easier it was to take in most cases. So it was a win-win when you hit somebody really hard with it. As long as you get them with the edge, it's still getting hit with a stop sign. It's not a day at the beach, but it's better than it sometimes looks or sounded. And so, as always, he told me to grab a sign. I grabbed the sign, baby. I gave a thing to the Iggy, and she slid that baby in. And when I turned around, I felt the chain hit me in the back. So I knew he moved, but I didn't know where he moved to. And when I turned around, he is sitting his ass is on the top turnbuckle. His feet are on the second rope, and he's just kind of sitting up in the corner, still chained to me. And so I took 2 steps and slung that stop sign at him, flat, hard as I could throw it. What does Bart Sawyer do? He's Bart Sawyer. He's going to do exactly the opposite of what you think he's going to do. He puts his head down and sails backwards. When he does, Jimmy, he backdrops that sign about 12 feet above the top rope. So you're talking 20 foot. I'm not exaggerating, man. 20 foot probably, that this stop sign is falling in the air. You want to guess where it lands? They got me fired and sent home before the David Flair and Jerry Lawler. It lands in the front row.
Oh, man.
Where on the front row, Hot Rod? I'm going to tell you where it lands: on a little girl and 2 old women.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my. Of course.
I swear, it's a wonder it didn't cut their legs off. The girl had on some, she couldn't have been 10 years old, maybe. I don't know. I was a heel. We weren't in the same dressing room. I didn't get to follow up. Well, actually, I didn't get to even change clothes. I got thrown out of the building.
Oh, man.
Our apprentice comes by and says, "You get the hell out of my ring now." And the first time he'd ever said anything derogatory with you. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I didn't get to argue my point, but that was my first thought. And the thing is over there, she just looks horrified. I'm like, oh my God. And, I didn't know if they were hurt. I didn't know what happened. Turns out it is slashed the girl's baggy pants and just left a little bruise. They just kind of glanced them. So it didn't hit them with the impact I thought it did. Oh my God. And then to top all that off, as if it could get any worse from my position, who are the guest commentators for the big television taping that's going on? Jim Cornette and Scott Hudson are there live to do the deal. And all I hear to this day is Jim Cornette when I went back to watch it, I hear Jim Cornette saying, "I just scooped that old lady up. She was ready to go anyway."
Oh my God.
We all thought it killed these people, just in that moment, I'm just waiting on Bart to go down and we can move on to whatever was next. Like I said, I never knew what I was going to do next till I done it. So I don't know what was coming after that, but it wasn't leaving the ring because the stop sign hit somebody in the front row. That was not the plan. And it was crazy. It was crazy. We were welcomed back into the good graces. Bart Sawyer showed up a couple of weeks later with flowers for the old lady and the gift certificate and whatnot. He come out of pocket and took care of that. Was actually coming just to legitimately apologize to him. I did get to talk to Bart a day or two after the match because it took me that long to get off the couch once I got my big ass on. I wasn't moving. It was terrible. The worst beating I'd ever had. The scariest moment I ever had, which says a lot because I've been in some pretty in particular situations over the years. But wow, what a culmination of a feud, and what a way. And then I missed the $100 payoff because I didn't get it on top of everything. I wasn't even going to argue the point. I never come in for the money anyway. I made more money at home than I was in there anyway. I was 15 minutes from home. thank God I didn't have a 4-hour road trip or a 10-hour drive or something afterwards. But yeah, it was as bad as it could be without being bad, I guess.
Right.
What a night.
Man, that is definitely what a night. That's a legendary story, and I can just envision every bit of that, honestly, Hot Rod.
Listen up, you bunch of slack-jawed flea market freeloaders. If you think you know Memphis wrestling, you don't know nothing till you've heard the Retro Wrestling Review podcast, brother. Every week they're talking the real stuff. Lawler Jarrett, PG-13, yeah, and even my Moondogs. Watch along stories from the road, interviews with folks who were in the thick of it, brother. The blood, the beer, and the bail money. It's all on the Wrestlecopia Podcast Network. Go to USWApodcast.com or I'll come down there and I'll slap a taste out of your mouth.
Trouble, and you can hear it in their scream. So stay out of the swamp, 'cause the full moon is shining big and bright, and you might run into a moon dog and meet your biggest wife.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jimmy Street, and that was episode 22 of the Best of James Rock Street Productions, with the first half of episode 34 of Hot Rod Biggs on Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling. Hot Rod Biggs was a good dude and a heck of a pro wrestler. He could literally talk them into the building. Sadly, in May of 2024, we lost Hot Rod Biggs, and the hole he left will be felt forever. We'll miss you forever, Rod. You can hear the full episode and more over on @GMBMPW or Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling wherever you listen to podcasts. Or simply click the link in the notes below. We hope you've enjoyed a look back in the archives of James Rock Street Productions. Check us out next week to see what else we have in store. Until then, follow @GMBMPW and @JamesRockStreet everywhere. Peace.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you later.
This has been a James Rock Street production.